Good morning, 7th grade. So today we're going to take some notes about unit rates with rational numbers. I'm starting my new notebook, and I have kind of a fancy notebook. I got them on sale. That was a deal. And it's kind of set up for how I like to take notes anyway. So it has the first pages here separate for a table of contents. So if you're starting a new notebook, I want you to go ahead and just skip the first page, maybe 2 pages, just in case you need it. And then we'll get started with our notebook. Since this is the first time we're taking notes, I'm going to go ahead and put page 1 at the bottom. And then, like I said, this is a fancy notebook. It has the place for the topic along the side, and it has a little spot for the page number. A plain notebook works well too. In fact, I think I'm going to put my topic here along the top too, because I tend to read things there and not along the side. So I'm going to write in big letters, unit rate, rates with rational numbers. Did not do a very good job of centering it, but that's okay. And then to make it easy for me to spot on the page, I'm going to grab a highlighter and I'm just going to put a box around it. And since this notebook's fancy and it has it along the side, I might as well go ahead and write it along the side too. Unit rates with rational, can't spell today at all, numbers. And they already put a box there, but we'll go ahead and make it colorful. So I like to use highlighters when I'm taking notes because I think that using different colors makes it easy to spot things on the page, which makes it easy to go back and study. And that's why I have you taking these notes, is because I want you to get in the habit of taking good notes so that when you're in high school and college and the teachers aren't telling you exactly what to write down, you already have a good system put together. So, all right, I think that looks good. We'll move it up a little bit. So, let's start by defining what a unit rate is. So let's say unit rate. And then I'm going to put another little box around it or underline it. Maybe I'll just underline it this time. And then let's write the definition. So a unit rate is a special type of ratio that compares a quantity of something to one, and I'm going to circle that because that's kind of the key here, is that it's something to one of something else. So let's give some common examples that you've probably seen already. I'm just going to underline that. I won't use my marker this time because it doesn't need to stick out as much. So one that you've probably seen maybe when you are in the car and you're driving, or your parent is driving. Let's see, you've probably seen signs that say something like 55 mph, and that stands for miles per hour. Okay, so if somebody is going at a speed of 55 miles per hour, what that means is that they can go 55 miles per or to every 1 hour that they are driving at that speed. So if they were driving for 2 hours, we could use this to figure out that they would go 110 miles in 2 hours. Another one that you've probably seen, like at the grocery store or at the market, I see this a lot when I'm shopping for lunch meat or cheese at the deli counter. You might see something that has a price and then a slash mark, and it'll say LB, or sometimes you'll see OZ for ounce. LB stands for pound, OZ stands for ounce. So what this means is price, usually in dollars, per pound. So for example, you might go to the deli and want to buy some cheese that's $4.99 per pound, but maybe you don't need a whole pound, maybe you only need half a pound, and so they use that to figure out how much you pay. Which brings us to our next thing, which is a compound fraction. Or I'm sorry, not a compound fraction, a complex fraction. So we talked about unit rates a little bit last year, but we just kind of used sort of easy examples that just had mostly whole numbers in them. But this year we're going to get into more complicated ones, okay? So I like to call complex fractions ugly fractions. I'm sure they're beautiful on the inside, but when I see them, I think that they are ugly and they make me nervous because they are fractions that have fractions in them. Fractions that have a fraction in either the numerator, which is the top number, the denominator, or both. So let's give an example just with numbers. Example. We'll give a few examples. So here's one where there is a fraction in the numerator. So 1/3 over 7. It's ugly, but remember, this fraction bar just means per or divide. So it's okay. We can have complex fractions, especially when we're talking about ratios. Here's one where it has the fraction in the denominator. So let's do 9 over 1/2, or 9/2. And then you could even have a fraction or even a mixed number, which is a fraction and a whole number, where it's in both the numerator and the denominator. So let's see, we could have something like 32 and 1, sometimes you see it written to the side like that, 1/5 over 67 and 9/10. And again, the fraction bar is just either a way of making a ratio or of saying divide. So we know that we can divide fractions, so we can also write it like that. Let's give a real world example too. So let's say I am driving in my car and I'm watching how many miles I go, and it says that I drove 26 1/4 miles, and I went that far in half an hour. And I want to find out what was my speed in miles per hour? So the first thing I'm going to do when I have a problem like this is I'm going to find my ratio. So I've got that keyword per, and then I'm going to underline, so I'm going to circle my ratio keyword, and then I'm going to underline what goes before it and what goes after it. So I know that per is where I'm going to put my fraction bar. Whatever comes before it goes on top. So I'm going to write this out in words first to help me see what goes where. Whatever comes after it is in the denominator or on the bottom. So hours. So if I am going to replace this now, replace these words with numbers, I have 26 1/4 miles to half an hour. So that's a pretty ugly, complex fraction. But in order to find the unit rate, I can use this ratio and think of it as a division problem. So whatever's on the top is going to go first when I write it this way. 26 1/4 divided by 1/2. It's been a while since we've had to divide with fractions, but remember, we can't actually divide with fractions. We have to do keep, change, flip. So I'm going to keep. Actually, before I can even do that, I need to change this so that it's not a mixed number. So to do that, I'm going to multiply by the denominator, and then I'm going to add my answer to the numerator. So 26 times 4, you can use your calculators for this too. So let's see. That is going to be 24, carry the 2, 4 times 2 is 8, plus 2 is 10. So, and then I'm going to add the 1, so I have 105 over 4 divided by 1/2. And now I can do keep, change, flip to change that to 105 over 4. Change the division to multiplication. And I'm going to flip, use the reciprocal. So now it's, instead of 1 over 2, it's 2 over 1. Simplify before you multiply. So I'm going to simplify across this way. 2 goes into 2 one time. 2 goes into 4 2 times. And now I'm just going to multiply across, multiply across. 105 times 1 is equal to 105. Easy. 2 times 1 is equal to 2. Simplify that by dividing. So let's see. Still see that? Move that up a little bit to make sure you guys can still see. I'm going to do 105 on the inside, 2 on the outside. 2 goes into 10 5 times. 5 times 2 is 10. 0, bring down the 5. 2 goes into 5 2 times. 4, I have 1 left. That becomes my numerator. That becomes, the 2 becomes my denominator. My answer is 52 1/4 miles per hour. All right, go ahead and take those notes. Take your time, rewind if you need to, make them nice and neat, and then make sure you show them to me.